Alright guys, today is Friday, January 21st, 2022. Today marks 28 days I have left to finish my 55 hardtop for Daryl Starbird's car show in Tulsa. I am waiting on a flex plate to come in from Summit. The tracking says it will be here tomorrow, so that's kind of awesome. At that point I can get the transmission and engine mated together, and hopefully me and my wife can get this thing set in without tearing up the paint on the firewall. I'm pretty nervous about that. So anyway, I am hoping that by Sunday night, I will be lighting this off. So hopefully get to hear that 406 running by Sunday night. That's the plan. Now, since I am in limbo waiting on the part, all day today I have to mess with stuff. So what I have decided is I think I'm going to try to get the doors out here. Well, one of them for sure. One is already wet sanded. The jam area in the back side of the door is all and the outside is already wet sanded. It's ready to be wiped down and shot. One door needs fully sanded, and the outside of the deck lid needs sanded. These are big items. I have to paint all this stuff, but everything's in final prime, and there's a few of the items that's been sanded. So I don't really have the space in this little bitty shop or garage after I get plastic hung in here to get all the parts in here to paint. So I'm going to have to do it in 2 different days. Alright, so I decided I'm going to finish sanding the doors on sawhorses first instead of trying to sand them on that. So there's just some plastic sawhorses. And I've got some pipe insulation from Lowe's, and pretty much just left it's adhesive, so I left the plastic on there. But anyway, I just basically cut them to fit and slip them on here. That'll keep anything from scuffing or scraping or scratching something. So well, I started on it back here, but I didn't finish it, so I'm going to do the lip and everything. But cool stuff. So this is a reflector from a truck stop for a, they just have a sticky tape on the back of it. I'm going to use some 3M double-sided tape so they for sure stay on. But anyway, I used a piece of muffler pipe and some sheet metal, built a cap for the back of the door. I hole sawed the door and did all that. Anyway, this reflector will basically fit down in there like that. So, when the doors open at night, if some oncoming traffic, that lights will glare off that and see it. But anyway, it's perfectly level. It will be when the tape gets on it, the thickness of the tape. But anyway, nice little French indoor reflector on something that wasn't stock. I just think it's kind of cool. Now I went through on these doors and I body worked all of the doors all the way around. So it is all front, underneath, and the back is completely blocked out slick. And I seam sealed the door skin to the back there. So it should be nice and clean, I hope. I hope. I've got stainless 12-point ARPs to put in all the window track system. What I actually did is the window track that goes in there, it sticks off of the door pretty far. That's why this is, I was able to do that. But anyway, I welded square nuts in the tracks so 12-point ARPs would go in there. Now, I did buy the kit for this from the Tri-5 supplier, so it does come with the chrome oval washer with the little tab on it, so that will be correct. But I'm just changing the hardware out to 12-point stainless because that's what I got in the whole car. And then I got some really nice countersink, flathead top, Allen bolts to go in the latch itself. But anyway, another thing that I was planning on doing, because I speed hold quite a few things on the car, the little tab that goes in here to hold your lock in, it has a little flange on it that is kind of visible, and I thought about speed holing those. I haven't done that yet. I actually marked one out a long time ago, but I never drilled it. I need to find that one. Just to give it a little bit more door jamb detail, I actually won best paint and first place with one car. And the reason that I got first place over the two guys that they picked, it was between me and another guy, and the reason that I won the show is because my door jamb detail was better. My jambs were all painted nice, latches were painted separately, so that was kind of an eye-opener for me that, you know, judges don't just look at the paint on the outside of the car, they look at the jambs too. So it's kind of interesting. They looked at the car and they left, and like 30 minutes later, an hour later, it seems like, he come back over there and he goes, "Can I open your door?" Because it was an outside car show. All I had was the hood and the trunk open, you know, and I had the windows down. But anyway, I told him to knock himself out. So he opened up the door and bent down and was looking at it and everything. And I had it all detailed and everything. It's pretty awesome. So this car is pretty much no exception. All right, guys, so I got a spray bottle with some Dawn dish soap and water. I got some 400 grit paper out here. I usually like to use 500 grit paper for my sand, my final sanding, but I'm out. I forgot that I needed that. If I'd have remembered, I would have bought it, but I'm gonna go ahead and use 400. It'll still be fine. I'm gonna color sand and buff anyway, but anyway, I've got the door propped up here, and I've also got this thing. Now, my mom bought this for me back probably 15 years ago or 10 years ago. This is actually for something for your kitchen. You put, like, to batter food with. It has a little cage in it that sits down in there, and you basically put it together, and it has a lid. You put your flour and your seasonings and all that crap in the bottom of it, and then you dip your chicken breast or whatever, lay it down there, put the lid on, and then you just shake it and it batters it, and you don't get all the mess on your hands. I have used it. I still use it, by the way. I still use it in the kitchen, but I do wash the crap out of it. But anyway, I put the cage in there, and I use this for my sanding block and my sandpaper. You know, as I'm going, I'll dip it in there and sand. And the good thing is about that is the sanding residue that you get when you shake it out in there, it goes past the cage and settles in the bottom. So when you get to the top, you've got clean, you know, water. It's not all the crap in there. Anyway, it pulls double duty around here, but anyway, I'll be using a little sponge block here and sand all the flat areas I can on the jamb to make sure they stay flat. But when I flip the door over to do the outside, I'm going to be using a little bit longer of a block. When I do a final sand on stuff, even when I color sand and buff a car, like the quarter panels and the doors, I won't use a little tiny block like that because that's a good way to induce ripples or, you know, make it look a little wavy. I like to use a nice flat block a little bit longer like that. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get started here. So I got a sheet torn out here, pulled out of the cardboard. I'll fold it into a spot here and tear it off. I'm going to soak my sandpaper as well. Actually, I can hear my wife pulling in. It must be lunchtime. I thought it was about 11:30. It's already, she gets home about a little after 12, so that kind of sucks. I'll go ahead and set that over there. I'm going to go ahead and tear this to get it done. Anyway, I like to use straight Dawn dish soap and water. That way, you know, it helps clean the paper out as you sand. So I'm going to go ahead and soak the paper, and I'm going to break for lunch, and I'll be back with you all here in a minute. kid. Coming out. Grab some sandpaper. All right, let's see if I can't drop a door and chip the paint on it or something. All right, so I had actually already sanded the door, the back side and the top side. It was all completely done, but I did it over the summer. So I'm gonna go ahead, and I just used wax and grease remover and wiped it off. I'm gonna go ahead and sand this again, just kind of go over it just a little bit again on both sides. And it's basically, I'm accounting for shrinkage of the urethane. So, well, my Z-Chrome polyester underneath and the 2K on top. But anyway, I'm gonna basically just make sure it's all flattened off again. And also I noticed when I was feeling of it, I found a little spot right here on the very bottom, and I had these laying on carpet in the bedroom, but I have moved them a few times to get to other stuff. So I've got a little scratch in the bottom there. It's like on the very bottom on the jam edge, the rolled lip edge. So I'm gonna try to block that out. The rest of it feels okay. Anyway, just gonna go over it again just to be safe. So I am about out of water though. If you've never painted a car before, don't be scared of it. It's not that bad. You just got to take the leap is all it is. If somebody can paint a car, you can too, you know what I mean? You're obviously probably not going to get a perfect award-winning laser straight black paint job on your first one, but the good thing about nowadays for people working in their garage, in this day and age anyway, you got YouTube, so there's plenty of videos on there to check out for that. But I would say if you're gonna, well, I will say if you're gonna try to watch some videos online of how to paint your car, I would personally recommend trying to find a quality, like a manufacturer of certain products, like, I don't know, like 3M or, you know, BASF, you know, that type of stuff. Look for videos by the companies or sponsored by the companies, because you will see some professional stuff instead of, you know, shade tree paint job stuff like I do. You'll find out what the correct way is to do that stuff. So anyway, I do remember a couple of years back, I remember I'm subscribed to Eastwood on their YouTube channel, and I remember Kevin Tetz doing some paint work on I think it was a Camaro if I remember right. And that was some pretty good informational videos there. You know, even if you've painted cars for 30 years like I have, it doesn't matter, because you're never too old to learn something new. Although I am very stuck in my ways, there's occasionally something you can learn. So what I think is pretty awesome about my hardtop project right now is the doors will be ready for paint as soon as I get done going over this one again. And then I'm going to knock out some of the other little small parts that I can paint the same day I do the doors, which may be tomorrow actually. So the more parts I get painted, the further along I can get in my build. Paint's actually the biggest holdup right now besides the engine. But hopefully that flex plate will be in tomorrow, or today, tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow. And then I can continue on with getting the engine in it, getting it running. So my idea was, if I can get this stuff painted tomorrow, this stuff will have time to kind of cure out a little bit before the sanding and buffing process. All right, now I'm getting redneck. I put my stool up underneath there, dropped it all the way down, then I put my little roll around stool in there, and then tapped on the handle to get it to come up and put pressure on the door to hold this leg down. I just tried to put this door on with it all tipped up on that piece of foam over there, and it wasn't having it. This is really awkward because I'm right-handed, and the other side was pretty easy for me. This is a little weird. Probably should wait for my wife to get here to help me, but I got things to do. Wow, that's gonna work. Awesome. I got plenty of room to get down there and paint that, get down on that edge. That's gonna be pretty sweet. All right, here's my mess. This is I used to work at an auto accessory shop, and this was a display for a rugged cover. He was going to throw all these away, and I kept them. It had a top on it. It looked like a little miniature pickup bed, and they had a little cover over it that the people coming in could check it out in miniature, basically, before they bought it for their full-size vehicle. Anyway, I've got a couple of things like that. One of them, I have the trunk lid in mind to hang it on there, so getting ready to find out if that's actually going to work. I'll have to go out back and get it. But anyway, I think it actually needs to be higher. So I'm going to mount it up on concrete blocks to get it up a little higher, and that way I have a little bit more room up off the bottom to get under there real well. But that is going to work, man. That is going to work very nice. And it's not like it is. I got to put a whole lot of pressure on it to even get it to tilt downward. So that's awesome, man. I love it. And I'll always keep this here because I know it's probably not my last tri-fi. Well, it's not. I know it's not. I got the 4-door, you know. I can hang the 4-door front doors on there. I'll have to build something for the rear doors. But that will work. That will definitely work. So these doors are done, other than wiping them off with wax and grease remover and tacking them down and getting ready to spray them up. Right now I'm going to go see if I can find some other small parts in the house and get them ready. Sand down one of my garnish moldings here. Just doing it by hand. I was having a problem last time I painted a bunch of parts for the car, getting some real bad trash in the paint, and the pollen was getting on everything outside, you know, the green pollen stuff on the cars and everything outside. So there was real static electricity on everything. So that's probably what was going on, but I don't really know. I kind of think it might have been the old paint. It just looked like somebody threw sawdust in all my paint, and no matter what I did. So some of the parts I painted, and I built a little plastic little shed thing right there, a little small thing with a fan in it, and I went in and painted a bunch of parts trim black, and it all turned out perfect. And then I did, after I pulled those out, I went in and did some of this stuff, and it looked like sawdust in the paint again. So I think it was something to do with the paint. So I went and bought another gallon of the same paint. It's just single stage urethane black, so I ain't gonna have a problem with it matching. But anyway, I'm hoping that I'm not going to have any issues with the paint this go around. Some of this little stuff I didn't want to sand and buff it. I just wanted it to lay down nice and just bolt it in and go, which everything outside of the car is going to get sand and buffed. But anyway. Still got some stuff in it. So on my channel under playlists, I have one that's Try 5 Tech Tips or something like that. Basically, I've got a video in there and it talks about these pieces of wood with them 3-inch long wood screws in there. And anyway, it's basically a redneck paint fixture. It's to get the garnish moldings up off of you don't lay them down, because you got to have paint underneath that edge, because these have such a good rolled edge. You see a lot of it. So they need to be elevated so I could get paint under them. So this is what I've done lots of times to my Tri-5s. Anyway, it's just basically elevated off there by 3-inch screws, and the trick is to get the screws out a little bit wider than that lip edge under there. So when you go to put it on there, you squeeze the screws together, stick the trim on, let it go, and it locks it in. So when I paint these, I basically hold it in my left hand and spray like this, flip it around, spray it like this, up underneath, do it like this. And then when I'm done, I can go set it somewhere. So that's why they got so much paint on them. They've been used quite a bit. All right, guys, so it's about, I don't know, a little after 5 p.m. today on the 21st, Friday. My wife is on the way home with dinner, so I went ahead and moved everything up, got the cars back in here. So I did get the doors. They're completely done and ready. They just need wiped down and tacked off and then shot. I got the lower garnish moldings ready. I got the gas door ready. The gas fill door, whatever you want to call it, goes on the quarter over here. The deck lid is another thing that I wanted to paint with this stuff, but I didn't make it that far. It is still in my house and it still needs wet sanded. Now, tomorrow, it's not going to get warm until afternoon, you know, probably around 1 o'clock. And that's kind of about the time that I wanted to start painting. So I think I should be able to wet sand the deck lid